Alright, what's up guys? I'm Analyst, and today I'm going to be going over my guys for 2020. These are guys that I really like going to this year, trying to get as many shares of them as possible. If you guys might notice the Hawaiian shirt, you'd be wrong. It's a Puerto Rican shirt. I got my camera inverted, so it's kind of throwing me off a little bit. But I don't know why it's September. I'm just really excited for football to be here next week. I think it's less than a week now because today's Thursday, or exactly a week actually. So by this time next week, we're going to have football. By the time you guys see this, it's going to be posted on Friday. We'll have 6 days. So even closer, even better. And so yeah, my guys for 2020, I'm going to pick one running back, one wide receiver, one tight end, one quarterback. So should be pretty short and sweet. Although I do get pretty lengthy with my explanations, so it could be a little while. I'm working on editing YouTube videos and adding stuff, so you guys might see, like I said, my camera's inverted, so just throwing me the hell off. So this is my Instagram. If you guys aren't already following me on there, you guys can go do that. And this should be my Twitter right here, so if you guys aren't following me there. And yeah, that's my logo. Oh, I did that first try. Nice. So, if you guys are skipping through the video, I'm going to put the player that I'm talking about, god damn it, I already messed up, right here, so you guys will be able to see exactly who I'm going with. So I'm going to start quarterback, then I'm going to go into running back, wide receiver, tight end. Let's get straight into the video. Subscribe and give it a like if you guys like the video. And if you're new to the channel, new to my page, and you're interested in fantasy football, I'm going to be doing content all season long. So I got you guys covered. See if you guys can cover me. So, first player I'm going to go with, this is going to be a QB. He's currently being drafted, I think, in the 14th round. His ADP actually moved up into the 14th round. And if you draft him this offseason, you might get some free beer. That's none other than Gardner Minshew. So, Gardner Minshew is one of my favorite targets for 2020. He's currently ranked as my QB 15. I have him in 3 out of 8 of my leagues as of right now. I still have a couple more drafts left, so that could definitely change. He's got the makings of a top 5 to 10 quarterback. And when I say that, I don't mean he's necessarily going to hit that mark. I'm just saying it's not impossible, and he has the, the makings. I'll say that again. He has the makings to finish in that spot. So what are some of the things that those quarterbacks need? They need a good touchdown to interception ratio. Gardner Minshew was 21-6 as a rookie last year. That's pretty good. You need a good rushing floor. He had 344 yards on the ground last year, and that was only in 14 games. And some of those games, you could say, I think it was 1 or 2 games where he kind of filled in for Foles once he got hurt. So he did technically play, but didn't start. All that meaning his rushing yards can go through the roof next year. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he has over 450. Not only that, but he's going to be in a lot of passing situations, a lot of beneficial point-making situations. He's got a very bad defense. That's going to force him into passing situations. It's going to force him into a lot of garbage time. And he was arguably the most impressive rookie QB last year. He was a 6th-rounder. He had no expectations going into the year. A lot of people didn't even know who he was until Nick Foles got hurt and was off the field. So as far as changes for 2020, they added Chris Thompson, they added Tyler Eifert, and they added rookie Laviska Shenault, who, no huge names here, but I think it's a pretty underrated group of additions. Chris Thompson, with Jay Gruden in that offense, he could easily be a nice little dump off for Minshew, get him some extra points. Tyler Eifert, I think the Jaguars tight ends had combined over 80 targets last year, and that was with James O'Shaughnessy, Josh Oliver being hurt throughout the year, Ben Koyak, Jeff Swaim, a lot of no-name guys just getting really involved in the tight end group. Tyler Eifert played 16 games last year. So if he's on the field, the least he can do is if he's in the red zone, that's where Tyler Eifert does his thing. So he could end up being a safety blanket for Minshew in that area. And matter of fact, Minshew had the 6th best completion percentage on play-action plays. So that could be huge for a guy like Chris Thompson. It could be huge for his running game. And he also had the 5th highest deep ball completion percentage. So that goes to his connection with DJ Chark, who is still on the team. And I think I saw a report, too, that Chark and Minshew didn't really get to work all too much together last offseason because Minshew wasn't expected to be the starter going into the year, and DJ Chark kind of broke out. So they didn't really have that established connection prior to the season, and now they've had an extra offseason to work together. So it only means great things for the two of them. So, in the Jaguars last year, they already had the 10th most passing plays per game. And now we have Leonard Fournette leaving the Jaguars. They don't really have a reliable runner that they can give that 300 carries on the ground. So this might be even more of the Minshew show than we expected, right? I mean, we could see more dump-offs, more, and rather than handing it off, maybe they have more designed runs for him. And obviously Nick Foles is gone, so we know the job is his. There's a lot to like about Minshew, especially where he's going. Like I said, he's going the 14th round. If you guys are in a super flex 2 QB league, I think he's the absolute perfect target. And like I said, I have him in 3 out of 8 of my leagues currently, and I'm hoping to get him on more. I mean, I think I only have 1 or 2 drafts left. But if you totally abandon the QB, QB draft spot, I think Minshew's the perfect guy to aim for. Because maybe you can go for a guy like Daniel Jones, but his first 3 weeks are just awful. It's just not worth drafting a guy like Daniel Jones, knowing you're not going to be able to play him at a high level for at least the first 3 weeks. So, I'm not used to doing this by myself, so excuse me if I seem a little out of breath from just talking straight. Let me add some breaks in there. So, my guy for 2020, Gardner Minshew. Also, there's the special that's going on. Apparently, if you draft him in the first round, you can get a free case of beer. And if you win a championship with him, you can get, I think it's like beer for like an entire season. Or like a season's worth of beer. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, it just adds a little extra incentive for drafting a guy like that. So that's Gardner Minshew. The next guy I want to talk about, if you know anything about anything I've ever posted, especially this offseason, this is one of the guys I'm really, really high on. And that's going to be Joe Mixon. So Joe Mixon, he's currently my running back 4. That's above Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, some of the other guys that you might really love. And it might be like, how? Like, how could Joe Mixon be the 4th best running back? But let me explain. So first of all, I'll go back and say I have Joe Mixon in exactly half of my leagues right now. I have him in 4 out of 8 of my leagues. I hadn't planned on getting him in this many. I usually don't like to put all my eggs in one basket, so to say. But I ended up seeing him fall to like the 2nd round, beginning of the 2nd, that very tail end of the 1st. And to have him as your running back 4 and not take him in those spots is just insane. So I had to take him in there. And let's go into a little bit why I like Joe Mixon so much. So last year, Joe Mixon in the second half of the year was the running back 4. If you do not count week 17, he was the running back 6. And that was on an offense with no offensive line. They had Andy Dalton, who had the worst year of his career. They had Ryan Finley, a rookie QB. He just didn't know how to play quarterback. And didn't have A.J. Green to stretch the field. So Joe Mixon had a lot going against him last year, and he still did very, very good in the second half of the year. He had a rocky start. He was the running back 31 in the first half of the year. And a lot of people see that, and it scares them off drafting him in the second half or just drafting him in 2020 because they think that guy can come back this year. But at the same time, it was the first year for Zach Taylor, right? This is his first year in the NFL as a head coach. Didn't really have the quarterback position that they wanted. Didn't have all the pieces they wanted. Didn't have the offensive line they wanted. They just didn't really know what they were doing. Joe Mixon was only playing 53% of the snaps in that first half. So they're still trying to figure things out, and he wasn't getting the opportunity. In the second half, that 53% turned into 65.7%, and I already told you guys that he finishes the running back 4 in that second half. He saw 313 touches last year. So that's including he was 5th in carries, and he was 3rd in goal line carries. So Joe Mixon was very, very much involved in that second half of the year. He had over 1,100 rushing yards. He was number one, not number 2, not number 3, not number 4, not number 5, number 1 in evaded tackles in the league, right? He is also number 4 in juke success rate with 32.9%, basically meaning he's good. And if you need more, proof that he's good. He was number 2 in yards created in that offense and number 8 in yards created per touch. So all of that just translates to Joe Mixon being a very, very good running back in a very bad situation. So what's going to change for this year? Jonah Williams, their first-round left tackle last year, is coming back from injury, so they'll have him. I believe they added 1 or 2 other pieces to beef up the offensive line. They have A.J. Green, who is apparently now healthy, but even if he's not, they have John Ross to stretch the field if he's healthy. They have T. Higgins, their rookie, to stretch the field, or even Auden Tate, who's becoming a dynasty sleeper for a lot, and credit to Rapper being one of the first people to mention him. So Auden Tate did great last year. So they have guys to stretch the field and prevent another situation like they had last year. Maybe he won't get as involved in the passing game, but offensive coordinator Brian Callahan already came out and said they've been working Joe Mixon more and more into the passing game. And his exact quote here, this is great. This is exactly what you want from a guy that you're drafting. The more Joe touches the ball, the better it is for our offense. So when an offensive coordinator says something like that, that's pretty big. It's because it's not a beat writer. It's not someone's opinion. It's the offensive coordinator saying that they like him and they want to get him the ball. What says even more than that is the fact that they just locked him up for 4 years on a $48 million contract, which makes him, I believe, within the top 5 paid running backs, if not top 3 or top 2. I'm not sure exactly. I don't have the contract numbers with me, but Joe Mixon, they feel like he's a very, very big part of their offense. Joe Burrow coming in, which is an upgrade no matter what, even if he's a rookie. He's definitely an upgrade from Andy Dalton and Ryan Finley last year. He has a tendency to pass to the running backs, which is what we saw with Clyde Edwards-Helaire at LSU. So all that tied together, Joe Mixon is in a really, really good spot to not just do better than last year, but he could be an actual steal in drafts this year. I've gotten him in the second round in a couple of leagues. So it's hard to pass on a guy like him. I have one of my drafts this weekend. If I'm able to get him, for a fact I will. You don't really have to cuff him with Gio Bernard anymore just because that contract situation has been solved. It's no longer an issue. He is a dark horse to finish as the running back 1. Not saying it's going to happen, but I truly believe that is his upside. At the very, very best, Joe Mixon could be the running back 1 in fantasy. So if that happens, just remember where you heard it. Just remember where you heard it here first. So that's Joe Mixon. We're going along pretty swimmingly so far. Usually I take pretty long with my explanations, but I'm trying to shorten that down a little bit. So that was Joe Mixon. We're going on. Ooh, I almost said his name. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess I'll say it now. But my guy at wide receiver is Terry McLaurin. So Terry McLaurin, he's currently my wide receiver 16. I have him in 3 out of 8 of my leagues. He had arguably the most impressive rookie performance from a wide receiver last year. And that was considering his quarterback play, where he was drafted and stuff like that. So obviously, Terry went through Case Keenum. He had Dwayne Haskins, who struggled a lot. I think they even played, who was it? What was his name? I think Colt McCoy started like one season, one game or something like that. But either way, he had a lot to go through, and he still had just under 1,000 yards, and I'm pretty sure he missed a game or 2 as well. So he could have been well over that 1,000-yard mark as a rookie, which is fantastic. And I have some notes here from Matt Harmon, who does reception perception. He works for Yahoo Sports. He's a great guy. And what reception perception is he kind of he looks at all the routes each player runs, and he marks their success rate, among other things. He's considered like the wide receiver guru. So, and he does a very, very good job at predicting stuff like that. So a couple notes from him of what he observed when profiling Terry McLaurin. So Terry McLaurin saw a contested catch attempt on 30.9% of his targets, and he brought down 82.4% of those targets. So in almost a third of his targets, they were contested catches, and he brought down 82% of those, which is nuts. It's actually the best contested catch rate in the entire league in terms of like bringing down those catches. So He's very good in that sense. He had a 76% success rate against man coverage, and he had a 79.7% success rate versus press coverage, which are both 89 percentile and 93rd percentile in those respective ranges. So he was very good. I mean, this is kind of just what all that translates to. Terry was just a very, very good wide receiver last year as a rookie. Harmon said he's the best rookie wide receiver that he's statted out since Odell Beckham Jr. And we all know Odell Beckham Jr.'s infamous rookie year. So, and I mean, Terry's involvement was pretty amazing as a rookie. I mean, he had the fourth most snaps, and he was a rookie. He was on the field for 98.2% of all snaps. Which is absolutely insane. Going to this year, he could easily be in line for 140 plus targets, which if he does well with those, he could finish as a top 10 wide receiver. It's definitely not out of the question. But I guess what a lot of people think is stopping him is Dwayne Haskins. But how much is it really stopping him? So with Dwayne Haskins starting after the bye week, Terry McLaurin was averaging 13.4 points per game as a rookie. That's not bad considering awful QB play and being a rookie, Rookie wide receivers tend to not have that kind of success. Better yet, in the fantasy playoffs, weeks 14 to 16, Terry McLaurin averaged 18.4 points per game. So that's a decent wide receiver one. And that's at the end of last year. Not much has changed. If anything, Dwayne Haskins has improved as a quarterback. He's slimmed down, he's looked sharper in practice, and they haven't added anyone around Terry that would get me worried about taking away some of his targets. Dontrell Inman, Kelvin Harmon tore his ACL. Steven Sims could be working in the slot. Logan Thomas, who I'm actually a decent fan of Logan Thomas as a tight end, but he's not going to command any targets in this offense. So there's a ton of vacated targets available for him. They haven't added anyone to take away those targets. Yeah, I mean, he could very easily outscore his ADP. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on him just because of the fact that Dwayne Haskins is that starting quarterback. But if they can rekindle their old connection from Ohio State, I'm telling you, Terry McLaurin can easily be a top 10 wide receiver. He kind of reminds me of Devontae Adams. Like one of those smaller guys that you wouldn't expect. Like I remember when Jordy Nelson left Green Bay and everybody was saying Devontae Adams was going to do really, really well the next year. Obviously, he had Aaron Rodgers, but point being, like, Terry McLaurin's one of those same guys who's great at route running. He can beat the coverage, and he comes down with a lot of contested catches. Very, very good in the red zone. So I see a lot of similarities between those two. And I don't know. I really would not be surprised to see Terry be a wide receiver one this year. And you can get him in the 5th, 6th round sometimes, which is absolutely nuts. So that's why we go running back early in a lot of these drafts. Yeah, that's going to do it for Terry. Now, we got one guy left. This is my last guy that I'm going to be doing in this video. Maybe I can do more in the future. And he's a tight end, as you guys might know. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, whatever. He's going to his 3rd year. And his name is Mike Gesicki. So Mike Gesicki, he is currently my tight end 6. I was thinking about putting him at 5, but I moved him back to 6 just because if Evan Ingram can play, then or if Evan Ingram is on the field, he is a top 5 tight end. But either way, I have him currently in 3 out of 8 of my leagues. A lot of what I've been doing is I've punted the tight end position, and then since Gesicki's going the 13th round, I can kind of just let him fall to me and grab him in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round and be perfectly fine at the tight end position. So it's great to get him in that aspect, who he is as a player and an athlete. So if you guys haven't seen his metrics from the combine and etc., he's got 95th percentile in speed, 99th percentile in burst, 99th in agility, and 100th in catch radius. I mean, that's just athleticism. That's freak athleticism. And when that translates to the field, then that's when you have a star. That's when you have like a George Kittle and some of those other really great tight ends. So I believe he's got the upside, and there's a good chance he hits it. So let's go into a little more. Funny enough, I've been following this guy for quite some time, and as a rookie, I predicted he was going to be a top 10 tight end. It didn't happen as a rookie. He fell a little short, wasn't as involved. But at the same time, he's going to his third year, which for tight ends is usually their huge breakout year. We've seen it from time and time again. He was the tight end 8 in the second half of last year. He was the tight end 12 at the end of the year, throughout the whole entire year. He was 7th in targets, 4th in air yards, and considering he had 89 targets last year, it's hard to imagine he doesn't get over 100 targets this year, especially because they have, I believe it's 177 vacated targets. That's with opt-outs from Albert Wilson, Alan Hearns. They have some other injuries and issues among their team, but he's in a position to catch a lot of targets this year. So, let's see. What else I got here? A lot of people like to throw on him that he didn't really have a lot of yards. Didn't really have a lot of yards after catch. He didn't really do much when going against contact, but he did have the third most deep targets among tight end, and he's got the skills and the athleticism to improve from what he did last year. So considering he did everything else perfectly fine, I have no issue with. I think that's something that can improve. Breaking through tackles and getting into open space more is definitely something that he can improve on. And not to mention, he's a slot tight end. He played in the slot 100 times more than any other tight end in the NFL last year. Offensive coordinator Shane Gailey has some experience with tight ends playing the slot. He did that with Tony Gonzalez when he was his offensive coordinator for him. He moved Gonzalez to the slot a lot. But point being, working in the slot as a tight end just gives you crazy matchup advantages. So with his athleticism and where he's lining up on the field, it's going to be huge. It looks like I was petting him. I was like, there, Mike. There. Okay. So as I mentioned before, 177 vacated targets. He can be a huge factor in this team. He had the second most red zone targets out of all tight ends, not named Jared Cook or Mark Andrews, who were one of the biggest. I think they both had the 2 highest touchdowns, the amount of touchdowns last year. So he's under his third year, typical breakout year. What's not to love? I think he could easily be a top 5 tight end if he's involved in this offense in the right way. And so that's going to do it with my guys for 2020. Just a little recap, because I don't know why I like doing this. We got Gardner Minshew, we got Joe Mixon, we got Terry McLaurin, and we got Mike Gesicki. These are all my guys. If you haven't drafted yet, these are definitely guys I would recommend getting. They could all finish top 5, top 10 at their respected positions. And if you already drafted, maybe you can buy these guys for pretty cheap. I mean, Joe Mixon, if you were able to grab him prior to his contract situation being figured out, then you scored big. You probably were able to get him in the second round like I was. I think Joe Mixon is one of those guys who can definitely be worth a top 5 pick. Although, like I said, if you're able to get him in the second round, if you're able to wait on him, that's something I definitely would do. So, yeah, that's going to do it. If you guys like this video, please consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. I'm going to be giving advice all throughout this season. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.